Windfall, wonderful audience. We're not playing Mega Man. How are y'all doing? Rerun, guys. It's a wonderful, wonderful evening. I just want to talk to you really quick about the God, not the God, there is only one God, the Almighty of heaven. We're talking about the not caring delusion versus the believing God truth. Now, in atheistic humanism or atheistic Christianity or things like that, people who aren't following God, it's mostly atheism. But the concept is, I'm just not going to care. Like I remember one person years ago, they were like, they weren't supposed to be doing something. They weren't supposed to be dating someone. They weren't supposed to be dating someone that they were. And they were like, well, I just don't care. They just say, cause I'm not, I just don't care. I'm just going to do what I want to. And what they decided to do was not care. See, this is interesting because people are like, I'm not going to care about it. I'm not going to worry about it. And if something happens, and basically, it seems on the surface like it's a great, wonderful thing because, they're just not caring and they're not worrying about it and things like that. Now, the problem with that is that they are not addressing the situation. When a Christian says they don't care, like the Bible says, be careful for nothing, don't worry about anything. The Bible actually says, but with prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, make a request known unto God. So when a Christian says, oh, they don't care about what will happen tomorrow, as in they're not going to worry about what happens if they, be a race car driver, they're not going to care about the thing. It seems to be expanding as I think about it now. But, if a Christian says they're not going to care or worry about, what's going to happen in their schools, or their future or whatever. So I'm just not going to worry about, what happens to my kids and stuff at school. I just can't be worried about it. I'm just not going to, I just don't worry. I guess they say they don't worry, but they're believing God. So they're not going to worry about getting sick because they're believing God to keep them well. They're not going to worry about that sickness and disease or losing money or losing, their job. Says, I'm just not going to worry about, instead of, when this, if an economy if wicked people are in control and the economy goes down, then you have, if the people are like, I just don't care if I lose my job or not. I'm not going to worry about whether or not I lose my job. That's really what they're going to say. That's what that person will say. I'm not going to worry about, I'm not supposed to be dating this person because I want to date the person. So what they're doing is they refuse to worry. They're not going to let that enter into their mind. The only problem with that is, like I said, just like if they're saying, I'm not going to worry about losing my job. I just can't sit to worry, because that's where you get that que sera, whatever happens, happens. It's superficial and it's not real. That's not the same as believing God to keep your job. Believing God to protect your kids. See, it's like they're like, well, what if something happens, on the subway, right? They say, what if something happens on the subway? And it's like, that was interesting. He was baiting me down there, but well, I'm just not going to worry about what happens on the subway. Well, people who aren't believing God really wouldn't necessarily. They try not to worry, but what they really done is they're just ignoring. I don't, so, it also goes into like, oh, I just don't care. Many times when people say they don't care, they're doing something they're not supposed to do. I just don't care if I get any trouble anymore. I'm just going to do what I want to do. But see, that's not coupled with believing God. So you're still doing wrong. You're still sinning if he's not supposed to be dating, if his parents told him not to, and he's going to do it anyway, but he's just not going to care about it because he's, I just don't care anymore. And sometimes that's a lie too. I just don't care what my parents think. Two people who are dating and they're not supposed to, or get married, they're not supposed to. Oh, I just don't care what my parents think. Well, most of the time that's just a lie anyway, because they really do care what their parents think. They're just trying to delude themselves. See, that's not the same as believing God. See, when you believe God, it's totally different. Because when you believe God, you're actually believing him to do something and protect you and stuff like that. So I just don't care, what they think. If it's good, it's great. But many times the people are saying I don't care because they're doing wrong and they just don't want to go through their conscience. Oh, I don't care what my mom thinks about that person because, I love the person and I just really don't care. My mom just doesn't know any better. She's just stupid because she just don't know better, because we're in love and we're like, in the 8th grade, but we're in love. I done found someone I like. They don't even know my name, but we gonna get married and have kids. Forgive me, Lord, I shouldn't have said that. But still, anyways, that's what I don't want you to do. You have to know the difference. When a Christian says they're not going to worry and they can sleep, like I remember there was a chaplain in the United States military, the bombs were bombing, they were overseas, and this person was like, how can you sleep so well? Well, he says, I can sleep well because I know if I die, I'll go to heaven. So, I mean, he's at peace, and that's where his peace was, if he died, go to heaven. There's another lady in World War II who was like, I don't like the smell of this place. I believe she was in England. You can look this up. And she was like, I don't like the smell of this place. And so she went to her own room, her own house, and she lived through the bombing. She's like, I just don't want to deal with that. And so but I'm not going to worry about it because I like sleeping in my own bed. He's like, I'm not going to worry about what happens to me and stuff, because I'll die. If I die and go to heaven. Of course, there are other people who are like, I'm not going to worry about what's going to happen to me because God will protect me. That is not the same as somebody who says, oh, I'm just not going to care what happens to me. And if I die, I die. See, there's no faith in that. You just gave up because you're not resisting. That's the problem with atheism, is that you can't resist things that come in the universe that are there, that are trying to kill you. Because stuff from hell trying to kill you. They get you to accept it. And if you can accept it, then you're a goner. That's basically it, because they get you, oh, I just don't care anymore. I don't care what happens. I'm just going to put my, I'm just going to do this. And I don't care if I don't make it. I'm going to do this challenge. And, if I do this backflip, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. But see, they're not believing God. There's no faith involved in it. Boy, he's shooting a lot, isn't it? But there's no faith involved in it. So old dude is like, oh, I probably should have stayed on the bottom for that. So maybe in the future I'll stay in the bottom. But so that's not the same. That's not believing God. That's like, oh, I just don't care. I'm just going to do this and I'm going to try this out. And if something happens to me, it happens to me. That's just like whatever happens, happens. That's rubbish. And I just want to encourage you not to play that game. See, there's a difference. So when Christians are like, oh, I'm going to go to sleep and rest because God's going to take care of me and protect me, they're walking in faith. Other people are like, oh, I'm just going to sleep. You just can't worry about what happens. Sickness and disease is going around rampant in their area. And instead, they're like, instead of believing God, they're like, well, I mean, you just can't worry about that. Something might happen to your kids, but you just have to not worry about your kid when they go on that trip. When your kid goes on that trip, you can't worry about what happens to him when he goes on that trip. You're just going to have to, pretty much, just believe God and not believe God. I'm sorry. I said, I'm just not going to worry about what happens to my kid on the trip. Kids are kids. So they just kids. And since they kids, I'm just going to, praise the Lord. I'm just not going to worry about what happens to my kid when they go on this summer vacation. I just can't worry about it. It's out of the country. I just can't worry about it. That's how atheists are. Oh, I just won't worry about it. See, but there's no faith behind it. See, they're not believing God. They're not believing God to protect their kid. So they're just like, whatever happens, happens. And it sounds great in the natural, on the artificial side, when you hear it, because it sounds just like the Christian who says, I'm not going to worry about it. When they say, have a good trip, everyone says have a good trip. But one family's believing for their kid to have a good trip and get back. And there's another family who's not believing for their kid to have a trip. See, you can't tell if someone's walking in faith. That's impossible. It's hard to tell if someone's walking in faith. But that's the difference. The difference between atheistic, I just don't care what's going to happen. Whatever happens, happens. And Christianity, I don't care what happens because my God is going to protect me and keep me alive and well. Live and move be, y'all.